The reason why Green Film's anniversary is on the 11th of November is because we uploaded our first short film, The Long Distance Relationship, on the 11th of November 2011. And that's why we are 11-year-old now. I think it all began when I brought the script to Roy. So when I had this script and it feels not impossible at all to make it happen, and first person who came to mind is Roy Ajong, whom I know shoots really beautifully. He's super good. So I reached out to Roy and thankfully he agreed to come on board and to just shoot this film. When Roy agreed to do this together, I was even more confident. So the next step was to find the location, the actors, the props, and everything else, right? At the top of my head, I had Daryl Baptiste in mind for the lead role. And during that time, I was searching for the female lead. I was talking to Buyen, my high school senior, and he recommended like, hey bro, check out Liana, goes to drama school. And I took a look at her and we're like, perfect. Feels like we have our actors on board. And at that time, because it's our first project, didn't know specifically, do we even need crew? We can just make it work amongst ourselves, but I just gathered a few close friends and like, hey, doing this, do you wanna come help out? Like, sure. And so we've got Dustin, we've got Esther, we've got Shogo, and Ivan got Chichak to borrow his place. So we just came together and let's do this. And Buyen came on board as well to just help out. And that's how the long distance relationship happened. When it blew up on YouTube, immense of views and comments and shares and likes, it was affirmation, right? While we didn't win the film competition, having the affirmation from the online crowd was something very new back in 2011. And this is me coming from just wanting to make this specific script into a short film and sending it to a competition. By the time we hit our first 100,000 views, calls started pouring in. There were offers to make a movie, there were offers to make videos. There was no specific term for what we are because there was no such thing back then. I saw like, looks like I can start a company. I think I was naive and I was eager and I just jumped at it, you know. I tendered my resignation and I'm so thankful for Faisal and Aunt Pat for being so understanding, Uncle Steven as well. I remember Faisal giving me this advice when I was leaving the company to start a company, and he was like, Jared, when you run a company, it's a constant thing. It has to be the priority. You don't have time to think of anything else. You have to constantly think of how to grow the business, how to run the company better. And it's constant, and he's not wrong. So I left and I immediately started Green Film. And right after we started Green Film, there was no confirmed jobs right away. So that's quite worrying because there's zero income. But we made like a couple of short films more just to upload, and maybe it'll help further our reach. While I met a lot of people who were curious what we were, what we do, I think we landed our first job, first paid gig, and it was from Sean. Thank you, Sean, for believing in us. It was for the Dyslexia Association of Singapore. And that was a big deal to us because we are getting our first paycheck to do something that we do, right? And coming from that, there were some funds, and the funds from the Dyslexia project helped sustain us for a while we hunt and hope that another opportunity will come. And I would say the first person from the creative industry, the ad world, to really believe in our work was Lester from Mega Advertising. And Lester, thank you so much for taking that leap of faith to hire. God knows what we were back then. And Lester reached out and said like, hey, we've got this project for P1 and it was like a package deal where it's 7 videos in 7 weeks. So I was like, yeah, let's do this. I jumped at it and I was glad that we were getting more paid jobs to do things that we do. It could be short films. We were free to pitch the ideas and we would do from script to final in 1 week 7 times. And I did not see the weight of it all at that time, right? And Lester probably didn't know that it was just me and Roy at that time. There were no other people helping us. And I was really naive and I did not have experience in the ad world or how a production should be ran. There should be a table, a monitor for the clients, and there should be one for the director himself. There should be a producer, there should be client servicing. All these elements that was not known. And this all stems from my own mistake of not researching enough before even starting the company. So from the first get-go, I think Lester knew something was wrong, and I had to repeat the process. And I think by the end of the first video, I knew I needed more people on board. And that's when I reached out and called whoever I can to come on board and help. And during that time, I think Poju came aboard as producer. Thank you so much. And by the fourth video, during lunch break, I just blacked out. My body just turned off. And I remember eating at the mama, and suddenly I just turned off. Like everything just turned black. And the next thing I knew, I was still there, and everyone was asking me, bro, you okay? What happened? And right after that, I was hospitalized, and the doctor said I was overworked, I was too stressed, and shingles started in the hospital. The whole bed was covered in pus. My back was like, it's gave away. And the load I just took on without knowing what I was getting into. And again, I'm not sharing this for sympathy or empathy or anything. It's really all my own mistake for not researching beforehand or not knowing better before saying yes to something. The first guy from the ad world to who believed in us down, I let probably the team down, and somehow we managed to struggle and push through the project. And I think there and then Lester was really disappointed, and I remember every year I would go back and like send him like a Chinese New Year thing, and I would apologize. But the good thing is he saw us grow and he gave us a second chance, which he finally said like, you have come a long way. It should have been done like that, you know? And I'm like, thank you. If not for you who first gave us our first gig in the ad world, I think anyone else who came on board during that time would have got burned. So I'm really thankful for the experience, and that was me learning from mistakes, and probably the worst way. The worst way to learn is from mistakes, because people have made them. Go read up on them and try to overcome it by not doing it, but by knowing. In 2012, we were talking to Ben, who ran this website, who sold things, and he said like, hey bro, I like what you do. What if I give you some budget and you just make a short film and put it on your channel? I was like, sure. And we took the 2,000 ringgit and I wrote Sincerely the End during that time. And I think 90% of the budget was put into buying 800 helium balloons. But that was another crazy shoot. I reached out to a lot of friends. I think Nas was there, John was there, Chichat was there, Hassan was already there, who eventually helped shoot some of our later videos. And in that film, there's a scene at the end where there's a lot of balloons coming out while Marianne walks down that abandoned building. So I was like, okay, action! And then the balloons came up, and the wind was so strong, the balloons just flew away. And I was like, God! The 200 balloons maybe like flew away, and we were left to like 600, and we're waiting and waiting and waiting. We're like, sun's going out, there is no more chance. And Marianne's like, just believe, just do it lah. It's all onto God now, I guess. And I'm like, action. And I think the wait till the last minute right before the sunset, so the balloons actually came up really slow and nice. It was perfect, like we got the shot. It was another project that we were proud of. We sent it for BMW again. In 2012, when we submitted, we didn't win, but we entered top 10 again. And we were proud of Sincerely the End. We uploaded it on YouTube, the response was great. And we actually premiered it at an event called OMG, whereby 5 YouTube channels came together and we were like, guys, let's make an event. People come, they watch some of our newer stuff, and I'm like, oh, sounds good. And we premiered it there. That time it was Ginny Boy, it was Ming Ting, it was Dan Koo, it was Joseph, and us. There were only 5 of us. I think in 2012, there were just these few channels who were really active making content and we got together. And it's all thanks to Joseph, who actually first reached out to us and said like, I really like the long distance relationship. And during that time when I first YouTube Joseph Germani and I saw his Pengu video where he talked about a penguin or something, and I'm like, oh, it's hard to be friends with this guy. And I told him that, right, in his face. But Joseph's a great guy. Like, I think we go way back, and he's a real close friend now. And making short films takes a whole lot more of time compared to making a vlog or a comedy skit. All I knew was, if we can't upload as frequent as our peers, it's very hard to be on the same level in terms of numbers. And the other thing was, there were no face for people to return to for our channel. And we made different stories, different style, different genres, different actors all the time. Some work, some don't. So I think it was in 2013 where I created the Koko character. Hello! Right, so that's the end of the second episode of 11 episodes for our 11-year journey recap. If it was boring, very sorry. It's really like we're doing this to remind ourselves of the mistake we've made, the challenges we've been through, so we don't repeat the mistakes that we've made. If anything, the biggest takeaway here is that we shouldn't jump into something without knowing there's something, but I know that if we know too much, sometimes it can be too overwhelming to get into. Thank you so much for everyone who was involved in the project so far. And guys, 19 November is coming. You must go out and vote. Do your part. Our country needs your vote. Some of you can be like, nah, won't change anything. Like, no. It has been changing. Even at a very slow speed, it has, because everyone has been trying and you must do your part. And we can only hope the country we live in now, the country that we love, becomes easier to love. I know it's hard to love the country with the people governing it, so this is the only way to change it. So stay tuned for the third episode. I hope you guys stick through with me, and see ya.